Hey guys, welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors. Thank you for tuning in to another Underwater Wednesday episode. And this one is one that's actually been 3 weeks in the making. 3 weeks ago, I came in to do an episode about how to tie a loop knot and what effect it has on the baits. Well, I got in the pool, I started working the baits, and I had to kind of do a double take about what was going on here. So today we're going to show you the results and they might surprise you. Stick around, guys. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. Like I said, these results for using a loop knot. How many of you use a loop knot? And I can bet that if you're saying, yep, I use a loop knot, I use it on crankbaits, topwaters, maybe soft jerk baits, or for sure, if you're a forward-facing guy, do you use it when you're shaking a minnow? Those are the baits that I know of that people use a loop knot. And so I was going to get into the pool. I was going to demonstrate how to tie a loop knot, and I was going to show you the effect of it. Well, I got in there and started working these baits around, and then I want to compare them, and it was kind of surprising. So let's just jump into the pool right away and kind of show you what I found when I compared using a loop knot to just a standard Palomar knot. So what we're looking at here is I started off with a Zara spook and just working a topwater Zara spook. And this first bait that you're watching right now is a Zara spook that I tied directly, a Palomar knot directly, but it does have a split ring on it, okay? But I always, anytime I'm using this type of a topwater bait, I'll put a split ring on it. And you can see the action here as we're working this Zara spook back, and it looks pretty good. Now, in comparison, when I throw the Zara spook but I take the split ring off and I use a loop knot instead, this is what we get. And I have to be honest, if anything, I think the action is worse using a loop knot than using a Palomar knot with a split ring on it. Again, guys, I'm going to let you be the judge here. We're going to show you this. We're going to show you these as I worked them in the pool. And I'm also, when it's possible, I'm going to show you in slow motion to show you how each of these baits are really moving for a loop knot versus a Palomar knot. Now, remember, on the topwater, on this Zara spook, it's with the Palomar knot, it does have a split ring on it. With the loop knot, it does not. Now, the next bait that we're going to look at is just a fluke, and a weightless fluke. Again, a bait that you would work where you would let it sink down, twitch it. You want to get that side-to-side motion. And this first sequence that we're watching here is a fluke that has a direct line tie with a Palomar knot to the hook. So there's no split ring or anything like that. It's just a direct Palomar knot to the hook, and you still get that subtle fall, that somewhat of a shimmy, and that darting motion when you twitch the bait. Now here we're going to take the exact same bait, the exact same line. Everything is the same as the original direct tie Palomar knot to the hook, but now we've got a small little loop knot. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. That is the loop. This is the exact knot that I think it's better. You can see it better if I hold it like that. That's the loop knot that I had for this bait. Now let's look at this in the water. So this is with the loop knot, twitching it along the same way we did when we had the direct tie with the Palomar. Do you see a difference? Guys, while you're looking at this, don't forget, please hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. This is the kind of in-depth look you're going to get at certain fishing techniques, and we are glad that we can bring it to you on Mark Fisher Outdoors. Hit that subscribe button, send in your comments, hit the like button. We want you to be a part of Mark Fisher Outdoors. And even in slow motion, do you really see much of a difference from one to the other? Now, here's the one that I think was the most important for me personally, and that is taking a little jig head minnow. You know, if I'm forward facing sonar, I'm throwing a jig head minnow out. I want that bait to ride horizontally. I want that bait to, come back and jiggle. And so this is that jig head minnow straight with a Palomar knot. And then this is what that jig head minnow looks like when it is tied to a loop knot. And we're going to show you again footage here where we're actually not just taking the footage from above the water, but actually in the water, showing you again, you've got the Palomar knot, and you've got the loop knot. And we're going to slow that footage down so that you can see. If there's a difference, this is the one bait that there might be a little bit of a difference with the loop knot, but boy, it's pretty subtle and it's pretty hard to tell. This one of the things that I want to share with you. I work in a high school, and so I went to my science teacher at the high school and I asked if this related to physics, and does it actually, is there a physics to this where I can apply science to this? And I want to show you what we kind of came up with. Looking at my very crude drawing here, this is my bait and that's my loop knot. The point being is that when I'm applying pressure, even assuming that this bait is like a crankbait, one that I think a lot of guys you hear about, let's use a loop knot on a crankbait, it gives that freedom of motion. Well, if you're applying pressure while you're reeling this way, then what happens is up here, that loop knot is folding over to the point where it's got one part, the halfway through the loop, where the pressure is being applied to it. If the bait is being reeled this way, there isn't anything that will allow that bait to slide up and down that part of the loop, because it's going to be forced to be in the farthest part of the loop based on physics. Physics is pushing the bait this direction, and that's the only place that it's going to be, whether that is the farthest point of a loop or whether that's just where you tie your direct knot. There isn't going to be any other place that that bait can be. It's not going to slide around that loop. And because it's not going to slide around that loop, again, you're reeling it in, which means that the pressure is putting it on the far side of the loop. And if you were to pause it, physics, Newton's law says a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So it might want to creep up, and we would think, oh, well, then it's when you twitch it and you stop that motion that the bait can actually creep up, except both things are in motion, the bait and the loop. So the loop isn't going to stay still while the bait crawls up the side of it. The bait is in motion, and so is the loop. So a body in motion is going to stay in motion, and as the momentum dies with both, it's still always going to stay at the crease or the far end of that loop. Guys, I think there's physics behind this to say that a loop knot really does not get you anything. But regardless of the science, if you take a look at this footage that we have in the pool, I think it's pretty easily demonstrated that I'm not getting a whole lot more motion on any of these baits that I tried, the 3 baits that I tried, compared to a Palomar knot that's a fixed knot tied directly to the bait. I'm absolutely curious as to what you guys think after watching this, but as far as I'm concerned, there isn't any reason to tie a loop knot that I can tell. And one last fact about this, guys. Let's say there was a positive reason because the bait is going to slide along that loop. Now what you're saying is I want a single strand of line that my eye of my hook is going to ride along and rub along for 1,000 twitches of a jerkbait or for 100 casts of a crankbait where it's constantly wobbling like that, and I'm going to get that abrasion from the eye of that hook along that single strand of line, and I'm going to think that that knot is stronger than, for example, a Palomar knot that has 2 lines and is stationary. To me, I don't buy it. Number one, I don't think you get the benefit that a lot of guys think about with a loop knot. And number two, if you did, I think that what you're doing is it's just not as strong of a knot to use in the first place. My vote, I'm not using loop knots. I'm curious as to hear what yours is. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. This is the kind of stuff that we like to do. And believe me, 3 weeks ago, I was looking at teaching you how to use a loop knot. I'm not going to do it right now. So send me your comments. Love to hear from you. And we'll see you again tomorrow on another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.